you ever felt trapped in a relationship where your emotions are no longer yours? They seem to give you just enough attention to keep you hooked, just enough guilt to keep you questioning, and just enough confusion to keep you powerless. What if I told you this isn't accidental? What if I told you that someone, right now, is carefully feeding your emotions to maintain control over your life? Narcissists are master manipulators, skilled at knowing exactly what to give and take to keep you tethered to their orbit. They don't just take power, they make you hand it over willingly. But here's the truth. You don't have to stay in their game. By understanding their tactics and applying principles from dark psychology and Stoicism, you can not only break free, but take back your power entirely. In today's video, we'll uncover 11 ways narcissists feed off of you, how they manipulate your emotions, distort your reality, and keep you coming back for more. Most importantly, you'll learn how to recognize these traps and escape them for good. Now, here's something crucial. Take action. Hit that like button if you find this video helpful. Why does this matter? Because your engagement allows this content to reach others who are searching for clarity, just like you. And let's be real, without action, there's no transformation. No action, no growth. So, step up, hit like, subscribe to Victory Stoic, and together, let's take back control of our minds and lives. Let's get started. The first thing a narcissist never wants you to know is, number 1, feeding your need for validation. Narcissists are like master sculptors, carefully shaping your need for validation to fit their agenda. They know exactly when to sprinkle compliments and when to withhold them, creating a cycle of dependency. You start seeking their approval, not because you want it, but because they've made you feel like you need it to be worthy. Imagine this. You've just completed a project at work that you poured your heart into. Your narcissistic boss says, "You're brilliant. I don't know how we'd manage without you." You feel elated, valued, seen. But the next week, when you ask for feedback on another project, they dismiss you with a cold, "This isn't what I expected." Suddenly, that high you felt evaporates, replaced by a desperate need to reclaim their approval. The cycle is deliberate. The praise hooks you, and the withdrawal keeps you coming back, trying harder to regain what you've lost. Over time, you stop working for your growth and start working to meet their shifting standards. You become trapped in their game, constantly chasing fleeting moments of recognition. Why does this work? Psychologically, humans are wired to seek validation. It's a survival instinct deeply rooted in our need for belonging. Narcissists exploit this, turning your natural desire for connection into a tool of control. They dangle praise like a carrot on a stick, pulling it away just as you reach for it. Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Narcissists thrive on this imbalance, but Stoicism teaches us to seek validation within ourselves, to ground our worth in who we are, not in what others think of us. Recognize the pattern. The next time they offer a compliment, ask yourself, why are they saying this now? What are they trying to gain? Shift your focus inward. Celebrate your achievements without waiting for their approval. If you know you've done well, let that be enough. Take the story of Sarah, a young woman in a toxic relationship. Her narcissistic partner often told her things like, "No one else could love you like I do." When she started practicing self-affirmation and stopped depending on his validation, she saw the manipulation for what it was. She left, found peace, and built a life where her worth wasn't tied to someone else's opinion. The lesson: your need for validation is not a weakness, but it can become one if placed in the wrong hands. Take it back. Trust in your value and watch how quickly their power fades. Because when you stop needing their approval, you take the first step toward reclaiming your freedom. Number 2, exploiting your compassion, the trap of the eternal caregiver. In a bustling town filled with noise and chaos, there lived a healer named Arya, known far and wide for her boundless compassion. Her touch could soothe pain, her words could mend hearts, and her presence brought peace to the weary. Yet her kindness was both her strength and her vulnerability. One day, a traveler named Darius stumbled into her life, cloaked in sorrow. "I have nothing left," he lamented, his voice heavy with despair. "I've lost my family, my fortune, and my purpose. Please, help me rebuild." Touched by his plight, Arya welcomed him into her life, offering her wisdom, resources, and emotional support. Weeks passed, and Darius relied on her more and more. Whenever Arya hesitated, he would look at her with tearful eyes and murmur, "You're the only one I can trust." Her compassion bound her to him, and she poured her energy into his needs, ignoring her growing exhaustion. But one evening, as she prepared a meal for Darius, Arya overheard him laughing with a friend at the tavern. "Arya?" Darius scoffed. "She's useful. As long as I play the broken man, she'll keep giving and giving. Why bother trying when she does it all for me?" The words struck Arya like lightning. In that moment, she saw the truth. Her compassion had become his tool, her kindness twisted into a chain. She realized she was not helping him. She was enabling him to remain stagnant while sacrificing her peace. Narcissists thrive on exploiting empathy. They frame themselves as victims to gain your care and attention, feeding off your compassion to meet their needs. Over time, they create a dependency, not to heal themselves but to maintain control over you. Epictetus teaches us, don't be carried away by the appearance of things, but examine them with clarity. True compassion isn't blind, it sees clearly and acts wisely. Stoicism reminds us that while helping others is noble, it must not come at the expense of our well-being. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential for maintaining both self-respect and the integrity of your kindness. Arya confronted Darius with a calm but firm resolve. "I opened my heart because I believed in your pain," she said. "But I see now that my compassion has become your crutch. I release you to find your strength." She turned and walked away, leaving Darius stunned and powerless. In the following days, Arya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her compassion hadn't diminished. It had grown stronger, sharper, and more discerning. She continued to help those in need, but with clear boundaries that protected her energy and spirit. The lesson: compassion is a treasure, but even treasures must be guarded. When given without wisdom, it becomes a chain. When tempered with clarity, it becomes a shield. If someone takes advantage of your kindness, remember, walking away doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've started caring for yourself. Like Arya, choose to use your compassion as a force for good, not as a tool for someone else's manipulation. Number 3. Sowing rivalry through a love triangle. In the intricate web of manipulation, one of the most sinister tactics narcissists use is creating a false sense of rivalry. Imagine being constantly compared to someone else, not because you lack worth, but because they want to keep you feeling inadequate and off balance. This psychological chess move is designed to make you question yourself, your abilities, and even your place in the relationship. Take this scenario. You're in a romantic relationship with someone who, instead of celebrating your achievements, constantly drops hints about a friend who's supposedly superior to you. You know, they might say with a sly smile, "My coworker Sarah always remembers every little detail. It's impressive. I wish you were more like that." It seems innocent at first, but over time, these comparisons erode your confidence. You start striving to meet an invisible standard, not realizing that the game is rigged to make you lose. This tactic isn't limited to romantic relationships. In friendships, it might look like a friend saying, "I wish you were as spontaneous as Jake. He's always up for an adventure." At work, a colleague might casually mention how another team member outshines you. The goal is the same: to create a triangle of competition where they remain at the center, wielding control over your emotions. Why this works? The human brain is wired to seek approval and avoid rejection. Narcissists exploit this by subtly introducing a third party to make you feel like you're not enough. This tactic fuels self-doubt and makes you work harder for their validation, keeping you in their orbit. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, don't waste time on what others do or say. Focus on what you can control, your actions and thoughts. Stoicism teaches that comparison is a thief of joy. The only person you should measure yourself against is the person you were yesterday. Narcissists thrive on pulling you into their comparison game, but the moment you refuse to participate, you regain your power. How to break the cycle? 1. Recognize the pattern. Understand that the comparisons are deliberate and meant to destabilize you. 2. Affirm your worth. Instead of competing, reaffirm your unique qualities. For example, I may not be like Sarah, but I'm proud of how I excel in other areas. 3. Set boundaries. When they bring up the third party, redirect the conversation. I'm not interested in comparisons. Let's focus on what matters here. The lesson. Your worth isn't determined by how you measure up to others, but by your commitment to being the best version of yourself. Narcissists want you to feel small, so they can appear larger. Refuse to play along. Stand tall. Focus on your journey. And remember, the only comparison that matters is the one you make with yourself. When you rise above their games, you're not just freeing yourself, you're showing them that their tactics no longer have power over you. Number 4. Weaponizing guilt to control your actions. Guilt. It's one of the most potent weapons in a narcissist's arsenal. They wield it like a scalpel, carving into your psyche until you feel solely responsible for their happiness, their well-being, and even their failures. And before you know it, your decisions are no longer your own. They're shaped by an overwhelming need to avoid the crushing weight of guilt they place on your shoulders. Picture this. You're in a relationship where every disagreement ends the same way. They say something like, "I've given up so much for you, and this is how you repay me." Or, "After everything I've done, you owe me." You start questioning yourself. Are they right? Have I been selfish? Slowly, your boundaries begin to erode. You agree to things you wouldn't normally agree to just to avoid the emotional punishment they deliver. Why does this work? Psychologically, guilt triggers a desire to make amends. It's a natural response designed to repair social bonds. Narcissists exploit this instinct, making you believe that their unhappiness is your fault. By placing their emotional burdens on you, they gain control over your choices, ensuring you act in ways that serve their agenda. Epictetus wisely noted, "You are not disturbed by the events themselves, but by your interpretation of them." Narcissists twist events to manipulate your perspective, but Stoicism reminds us that we are not responsible for the emotions or actions of others. Your happiness and theirs is not something you can control or owe. Recognize the pattern. The next time they say, "You've let me down," or "I sacrificed everything for you," pause and ask yourself, is this true or is it manipulation? Separate your responsibility from theirs. You can care about someone without taking ownership of their emotions or decisions. Consider James, a professional constantly guilted by his narcissistic boss. Anytime James wanted to take time off, his boss would say, "Without you, this place falls apart. How can you even think of leaving me like this?" For years, James sacrificed his personal life, driven by guilt. But after reading Stoic principles, he realized his boss's failures weren't his burden to carry. He set boundaries, took his well-deserved vacation, and found a renewed sense of peace. The lesson: guilt can feel like a moral obligation, but when it's weaponized, it becomes a shackle. The happiness of others is not your responsibility. Set clear boundaries, reclaim your autonomy, and remind yourself that no one has the right to use guilt as a tool to control you. Let their manipulations fall away and step boldly into a life that's truly your own. Number 5. Weaponizing silence and distance to manipulate your emotions. Picture this. You've just argued with someone you deeply care about. It's not even a major fight. Maybe you simply disagreed about plans for the weekend. Instead of talking it through, they retreat. They stop replying to your texts, don't pick up your calls, and suddenly their online presence goes dark. Your heart sinks. You refresh your messages, wondering what went wrong. Days pass, and the silence feels unbearable. You find yourself crafting an apology, not because you believe you're wrong, but because you want the distance to end. This is the classic narcissistic play, using silence and distance as a weapon to assert control. Their goal isn't reconciliation, it's to make you doubt yourself and crave their attention. The longer the silence, the more desperate you feel. Psychologically, humans are wired for connection. When that connection is abruptly severed, it creates a void that feels almost physical. Narcissists exploit this by making you feel like you're the one responsible for bridging the gap, even if you were never at fault. Social media adds a new layer to this manipulation. Imagine posting a heartfelt apology or sharing something meaningful on your feed, hoping they'll notice. Meanwhile, they're liking everyone else's posts except yours, subtly letting you know they're watching, but choosing to ignore you. It's maddening and deeply intentional. The genius or cruelty of this tactic lies in its ambiguity. You don't know if they're genuinely upset need space, or are punishing you. This uncertainty keeps you in limbo, replaying events and blaming yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence isn't inherently good or bad. It's how you interpret it that matters. Instead of letting their silence dictate your emotions, use it as an opportunity to reflect on what you truly want from the relationship. Don't fall into the trap of over-apologizing or chasing after someone who deliberately creates distance. Respond to silence with calmness. Take this time to evaluate the relationship. Ask yourself, is this the kind of partnership I deserve? Does their behavior align with my values? Emma, a young professional, was dating someone who frequently used this tactic. After every disagreement, he'd ghost her for days. Desperate to mend things, she'd send apologetic texts, even when he was clearly in the wrong. One day, after a particularly hurtful silent treatment, she decided to stop chasing. Instead, she focused on herself, reading, journaling, and spending time with supportive friends. When he finally resurfaced, she realized she didn't miss him as much as she missed her peace. The lesson: silence can feel like rejection, but it's also a gift, an opportunity to pause, reflect, and regain control. Don't let their absence become your obsession. Instead, let it teach you the power of your presence. True love doesn't manipulate, it communicates. And remember, the strongest connections are built on mutual respect, not silent battles of will. Number 6, manipulating your reality through confusion and gaslighting. Imagine this. You're deeply in love, swept off your feet by someone who seems perfect. At first, everything feels magical. Every word, every gesture, every moment together. But slowly, cracks begin to appear. They start denying things you clearly remember. "I never said that. Are you sure you're not imagining things?" they ask with an unsettling calm. At first, you laugh it off. Everyone forgets things, right? But then, it happens again and again. The more it happens, the more you begin to doubt yourself. Maybe they're right. Maybe you misunderstood. You start to question not just their actions, but your mind. This is the insidious art of gaslighting, and for a narcissist, it's the ultimate power move. Why does this work? Gaslighting creates a fog, blurring the lines between truth and manipulation. The narcissist thrives in this space, where their narrative becomes your reality. By making you doubt your memory and perceptions, they weaken your confidence and increase your control. It's not about winning an argument, it's about keeping you dependent on their version of events. One evening, you confront them about a hurtful comment they made. They smile, almost pityingly. "I think you're overreacting. That's not what I meant at all." You feel a pang of shame, questioning if you've been too sensitive. The next time you're hurt, you hesitate to speak up, afraid of being wrong again. Bit by bit, your voice fades as theirs grows louder. Epictetus teaches us, if someone tells you a lie, do not believe it simply because they said it. Your perception is your reality. Stoicism reminds us to trust our inner compass. You don't need external validation to know what you experienced. Your feelings are valid, even when someone tries to dismiss them. When faced with gaslighting, anchor yourself in clarity. Write things down if you need to. When they deny a past conversation, calmly respond, "I remember it differently." Don't engage in endless debates. They're designed to exhaust you. Instead, trust your instincts and refuse to play their game. Take Mia, a woman who adored her partner's charm, but couldn't shake the constant confusion he left her in. He'd say things like, "You're too insecure. I can't even talk to you anymore." She felt crushed, blaming herself for every disagreement. But one day, she began journaling every interaction. When she reread her entries, she saw the patterns clearly for the first time. With this newfound clarity, she confronted him, not to win, but to reclaim her sense of self. She walked away, stronger and wiser. The lesson: confusion is a cage, but clarity is the key. Trust your perceptions, document your reality if needed, and refuse to let someone rewrite your truth. Love should empower you, not dismantle your confidence. And remember, no one has the right to control your mind, no matter how much they claim to care. Number 7. Exploiting your weaknesses to keep you dependent. Imagine being in a relationship where your vulnerabilities are weaponized against you. They don't outright insult you. Instead, their words are laced with subtle doubts that make you second-guess your abilities. "You're so scatterbrained. What would you do without me?" Or, "Let's face it, you're not exactly great at managing things on your own." What starts as a passing comment evolves into a narrative, one that makes you believe you need them to navigate life. This is how narcissists operate. They highlight your insecurities, not to help you grow, but to anchor you to their control. By making you feel inadequate, they position themselves as indispensable. They become the crutch you think you can't walk without. Except they're the ones who've convinced you you're crippled. Humans are naturally aware of their flaws. But when those flaws are consistently magnified, they become distorted in your mind. The narcissist exploits this psychological vulnerability, making you feel smaller while they seem larger. The more dependent you feel, the more power they hold. You're trying to pursue a new career opportunity. Instead of encouraging you, they say something like, "You've never been great at handling stress. Do you think you can manage this?" Suddenly, the excitement about your opportunity fades, replaced by self-doubt. You begin to believe their assessment of your capabilities. This tactic isn't just about control, it's about ensuring you see them as your only solution. They create a false reality where leaving feels impossible because you've been conditioned to think you're not enough on your own. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Recognizing your weaknesses isn't a liability, it's an opportunity for growth. Stoicism teaches us to view flaws with objectivity, not as reasons to despair, but as areas to improve. How to break free. 1. Identify the pattern. Notice when they undermine your confidence. Write down their comments and compare them with your actual achievements. The disconnect will be revealed. 2. Empower yourself. Instead of internalizing your doubts, use them as fuel. For every "you can't," prove them wrong by taking action. 3. Seek supportive voices. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and encourage growth, not those who thrive on your insecurities. Megan was in a long-term relationship with someone who constantly told her, "You're too shy to lead. Just let me handle things." Over time, she avoided opportunities that required leadership, believing she wasn't capable. One day, a friend pointed out her natural ability to organize and inspire others. With newfound confidence, Megan joined a volunteer group and led a successful project. She realized her partner's words had been chains disguised as advice. She left the relationship and thrived on her terms. The lesson: your weaknesses are not weapons unless you hand them to someone else. Acknowledge them and work on them, but never let anyone define you by them. True strength comes from embracing your imperfections and using them as stepping stones to a better you. Because the moment you stop needing their validation, their power over you dissolves. Number 8. Trapping you in the endless quest for their approval. Imagine yourself climbing a grand staircase in an opulent palace. Each step feels monumental, and at the top stands someone you deeply admire, someone whose approval you crave. As you near the summit, they extend a hand and say, "You've done well, but there's another staircase ahead. I know you can do better." With a mix of pride and frustration, you glance at the endless steps and start climbing again, desperate to reach the point where they'll finally say, "That's enough. You're perfect as you are." This is the world of emotional manipulation that narcissists create. They know exactly how to keep you yearning for their approval, feeding you just enough praise to keep you hooked while withholding full validation. You're left dangling, wondering what else you need to do to finally earn their respect. This tactic taps into a universal human desire, the need for validation. When someone dangles approval like a carrot on a stick, your brain craves it more intensely with every denial. Over time, your self-worth becomes tied to their opinion, and they control the strings. Think of a boss who constantly sets higher goals, no matter how much you achieve. You exceed your sales targets by 20%, only to hear, "Great job, but let's aim for 30% next quarter." Or consider a romantic partner who says, "You're amazing, but if only you could be a little more spontaneous." The message is clear. Your current efforts are never enough, and you must keep striving to meet their ever-changing standards. This strategy works because it makes you question yourself. Are you not good enough? Did you misinterpret their praise? Maybe if you try just a little harder, they'll finally give you the validation you're craving. And so the cycle continues. Epictetus teaches, it is not what others think of you, but what you think of yourself that matters. Stoicism encourages you to anchor your self-worth in your values and efforts, not in the fleeting opinions of others. The moment you detach from their validation is when you regain your freedom. How to break free. 1. Acknowledge the pattern. Recognize when someone's approval is conditional and is used to manipulate you. 2. Set internal standards. Shift your focus from their expectations to your values. Instead of asking, "Did I please them?" ask, "Am I proud of what I've done?" 3. Respond with confidence. When they attempt to dangle approval, respond calmly. For example, "I'm happy with my progress, and that's what matters most to me." Jess, a young artist, spent years chasing the praise of her mentor. Each time she completed a piece, he would say, "Good, but not great. You still have a long way to go." One day, she realized that no amount of effort would ever satisfy him because his power depended on her doubt. She began creating art for herself, focusing on her growth and passion. The moment she stopped seeking his approval, her confidence soared, and ironically, so did her success. The lesson: you don't need anyone's permission to feel worthy. True confidence comes from recognizing your own efforts and embracing your journey, flaws, and all. Because the moment you stop chasing their validation, you become unstoppable and unforgettable. Number 9. Using fear to keep you under control. Fear is one of the most potent tools a manipulator can wield, and narcissists are masters of this craft. They plant seeds of doubt, weaving scenarios where you believe that losing them means losing everything. This isn't about love or care, it's about control. By making you fear the unknown, they ensure you stay tethered to their world, no matter how toxic it may be. Picture this. You're in a relationship where your partner subtly reminds you of how lucky you are to have them. They say things like, "Without me, you'd struggle to find someone who understands you." Or, "If I leave, who's gonna tolerate your flaws?" Over time, these statements seep into your subconscious, making you doubt your ability to thrive without them. In friendships or work environments, it can look like a boss saying, "If you leave this job, you'll never find something better." Or a friend who insinuates that no one else could be as supportive as they are. The message is always the same: stay with me, or face a future where you fail. Why this works? Fear is primal. It activates our survival instincts, making us cling to perceived security, even if it's harmful. Narcissists exploit this by making themselves seem indispensable while subtly undermining your confidence. The more insecure you feel, the tighter your grip becomes. Epictetus teaches, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Stoicism reminds us that fear is often a product of our thoughts, not the external situation itself. When you focus on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, you strip fear of its power. The only person you truly need is yourself, and realizing this is the key to breaking free. How to break free? Recognize the manipulation. Understand that their threats and insinuations are designed to instill fear, not reflect reality. 2. Build self-confidence. Make a list of your strengths and accomplishments. Remind yourself of the times you succeeded without their help. 3. Challenge their claims. If they say, "You'll never make it without me," ask yourself, is that true? Have they been the sole reason for my success? 4. Take small steps toward independence. Start making decisions and taking actions that aren't influenced by their opinions. The more you assert your autonomy, the less their control will matter. The lesson: narcissists use fear because it's effective, but it only works if you let it. When you shift your focus to what you can control, your growth, your resilience, your future, you dismantle their power structure. Remember, you are stronger and more capable than they want you to believe. The moment you confront fear, you not only take back control of your life, but also show them that their scare tactics no longer hold sway over you. Number 10. Constantly changing the standards to keep you under control. For narcissists, control is the ultimate goal, and one of their most cunning tactics is shifting the goalposts. Just when you think you've met their expectations, they raise the bar, leaving you in a perpetual cycle of striving for approval that never comes. This relentless moving of the target ensures you remain dependent on their validation, always doubting your worth. Imagine being in a romantic relationship where your partner initially says, "All I want is for you to be loyal." You dedicate yourself to the relationship only for them to later say, "It's not enough to be loyal. I need you to be more ambitious." You start working harder, sacrificing personal time, yet they still find fault. "You're ambitious, but why can't you spend more time with me?" The demands keep piling up, and no matter how hard you try, they ensure you never feel like you're enough. In friendships, it could be a friend who always shifts the terms of what makes a good friend. At first, it's about being there when they need you, but soon they expect you to anticipate their needs without being asked. The moment you slip up, they label you unreliable, ignoring all the times you went above and beyond. Why this works? Humans naturally seek closure and a sense of accomplishment. By constantly changing the standards, narcissists create a never-ending loop where you're chasing their approval without ever achieving it. This keeps you invested and under their control, always questioning your value. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Stoicism teaches us to recognize when we're caught in an impossible chase and to redirect our energy toward goals within our control. The quest for perfection is futile, and true self-worth comes from knowing you've done your best, not from meeting someone else's arbitrary standards. How to break the cycle? 1. Recognize the pattern. Understand that the constant changes are intentional and not a reflection of your actual worth. 2. Set your standards. Define success and fulfillment based on your values, not someone else's shifting demands. 3. Refuse to play along. When they move the goalposts, calmly state, "I've done my best, and that's enough for me." 4. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate your efforts and growth rather than chasing unattainable ideals. The lesson: a narcissist's shifting standards are designed to keep you trapped, but you have the power to step out of your game. The moment you stop seeking their approval and start setting your standards, you reclaim your autonomy. Remember, your value is not determined by someone else's ever-changing demands, but by the consistency of your effort and the integrity of your actions. When you stand firm in your self-worth, you become untouchable in their web of control. Number 11. Undermining your independence to keep you dependent. A narcissist's ultimate fear is losing control over you, and one of the most insidious ways they maintain power is by eroding your sense of independence. They plant seeds of doubt about your abilities, making you question every decision you make without their input. This ensures you remain tethered to them, seeking their approval and validation for even the smallest choices. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner constantly questions your decisions. Are you sure you can handle that on your own? They might ask with a tone that suggests doubt. Over time, you start second-guessing yourself. Should you take that new job without consulting them? Should you plan a weekend trip with friends? Their subtle remarks make you feel incapable of functioning independently. And before you realize it, you're relying on them for every decision. In friendships or family dynamics, it's the friend or relative who insists, "You'll never make it without me," or who always finds flaws in your choices, making you feel like you need their guidance to succeed. This tactic isn't about care or concern, it's about control. Humans crave connection and often value the opinions of those they care about. Narcissists twist this natural inclination into dependency, making you believe their perspective is indispensable. The more you rely on them, the less you trust yourself, creating a cycle of dependence that's hard to break. Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Stoicism teaches that independence isn't just about making your own choices. It's about trusting your ability to navigate life's challenges without unnecessary reliance on others. True strength comes from recognizing your capabilities and cultivating resilience. How to reclaim your independence? 1. Recognize their tactics. Understand that their attempts to undermine you are about controlling you, not helping you. 2. Start small. Begin making decisions on your own, even in minor situations, to rebuild your confidence. 3. Build a support network. Surround yourself with people who encourage your independence rather than diminish it. 4. Celebrate your wins. Acknowledge and celebrate every decision you make independently, no matter how small. The lesson: narcissists want you to believe that you're incapable of standing on your own, But the truth is, you're far more capable than they'd like you to realize. By reclaiming your independence, you not only break free from their control, but also strengthen your confidence and self-reliance. Remember, your decisions and your path are yours alone. Trust yourself, build your strength, and watch as their grip on your life fades away. You are not only capable, you are unstoppable. Conclusion: the narcissist thrives on control, weaving intricate tactics to keep you tethered to their influence. But the moment you recognize their strategies, the spell is broken. These manipulations are only effective as long as you remain unaware. By understanding how they operate, you reclaim your power, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. Narcissists are masters of feeding off your need for recognition. They offer you just enough praise to keep you hooked, only to withdraw it when you don't meet their expectations. They exploit your compassion, painting themselves as victims to divert your energy toward their needs. They sow seeds of guilt, manipulating you into believing that their happiness rests entirely on your shoulders. They use silence and distance as tools to destabilize you, forcing you to chase their approval. These tactics are subtle, calculated, and designed to erode your independence. Imagine a relationship where your every move is met with a calculated response. You share a victory, and they downplay it. You express a concern, and they twist it into an attack on them. You try to break free, and they lure you back with promises they never intend to keep. It's a cycle of control that keeps you questioning yourself and seeking their validation. But here's the truth: their power over you isn't real. It's a mirage. The moment you set boundaries, their influence begins to wane. When you stop seeking their approval, they lose their grip. When you refuse to engage in their games, they're left powerless. And when you recognize your value lies within, not in their perception of you, you become untouchable. Have you experienced any of these scenarios? Share your story in the comments below. Your insights could help someone else break free. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Victory Stoic community. Together, we're building a space of strength, clarity, and resilience. True strength isn't about overpowering others, it's about mastering yourself. The road to freedom starts with valuing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to be defined by anyone else's perception of you. You are more than enough, and the life you deserve is waiting for you. Choose peace, choose strength, choose you,